Could you please introduce yourself and tell a little bit about yourself and your project, what you are doing currently in Russia and in Tuvan?
Sure. So my name is Harrison, and I'm currently completing a Fulbright research grant in Kizil, Tuva. I'm researching ethnomusicology of Tuvan throat singing, and I'm working with a research institute centered in Kizil, mainly with a scholar named Valentina Suzuki, who has really been instrumental in my understanding of Tuvan throat singing
What exactly are you doing? Is it more of a research type of thing, or is it more field trips and communication with the singers themselves, collecting materials? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so something that I'll be doing in the future, the research is just sort of starting now, but I'll be getting a lot of field recordings of singers and interviewing singers to sort of root out what the mindset is behind this tradition, because throat singing in Tuva is much more than just like a vocal technique. It's a very amazing vocal technique, as singers can make multiple tones at once by sort of manipulating muscles in the throat to create resonant chambers. So it gives this appearance that there are multiple levels of sound just from one voice. And it's this really amazing feat, this human feat, but there's also a very interesting sort of mindset that goes along with it, as the tradition is historically been a mimetic art form, which means that singers use this technique to artistically represent natural sounds in around the singers that practice it, and so yeah, that's what we're trying to get some field recordings to document that, because there's been a lot of good work in the past, and right now is a very important moment for this because of sort of various forces of modernization and industrialization that we fear might endanger this mindset. The technique of throat singing is still very much alive, and we don't see the technique showing any signs of decreasing, but this sort of traditional mindset of sound mimesis is something that we're very interested in, and we really want to document before this knowledge sort of fades away. And if there's a way that we can use our recordings and turn it into a article of some sort that we can sort of present to people like the Arts College and people that are passing this tradition on, then we feel that it would be really good for preserving parts of this technique that might otherwise fade away.
And how did you get interested in this very specific subject?
Yeah.
And why Tuvan throat singing, not some other throat singing? Because this is like a cultural thing typical to several regions.
Yeah, sure. So I actually found out about Tuvan throat singing through the Fulbright program, sort of in a roundabout way, as about 7 or 8 years ago now. I saw a Tuvan throat singing group that played in Chicago, and it was very much by accident. There's a sort of experimental banjo player named Bela Fleck who I saw at the Chicago Blues and Bluegrass Festival, and he had just done a record with the Tuvan throat singing group Alash, and he had them on tour with them, and I had no idea about this, and I saw it, and I was like, I was just so blown away by the sounds that I was hearing, and I was like, I've really never heard anything like this, and I just sort of instantly fell in love with it. And its connection to the Fulbright is that the guy that manages the Alash Ensemble actually was a Fulbright scholar, Fulbright Research Award winner about 15 years ago, I think, and he went to Tuva to study throat singing, and he never left. He's been. His name's Sean Quirk, and he's been my friend for a while now, and he's also really helped me sort of like find avenues to pursue Tuvan throat singing. About 2 years ago was the first time I was able to go to Tuva. It was through a grant through my university. It was the Martindale Award at Princeton University, and I was able to go for a summer to work with Valentina Suzuki. She was kind enough to teach me some Tuvan and hook me up with some singers there to sort of learn more about how the tradition is practiced in Tuva. And then later, as I was getting ready to graduate from university, Sean was like, well, you know, how I went to Tuva was through the Fulbright program, and I was like, well, that sounds like I should do that, and I applied, and I was very fortunate enough to be awarded this really amazing grant, and now I'm here. And I guess why Tuvan throat singing, not other regions, that I feel like this sound mimesis is something that is very, very much alive in Tuva. And I'm also sort of biased because it was the first throat singing that I heard, and I had all these connections there. But it really, as I learn more about Tuvan throat singing, it really is interesting how it's in this broader context of Central Asian and specifically like Turkic music, like Altai music. That's the Kai music and the Kai throat singing, and Tuvan music is also connected to like Sakha jaw harp playing, and Kyrgyz and Mongolian, Kazakh, Caucasian, and it's all sort of interconnected through the broader Turkic lens.
Could you tell me more about your Fulbright experience? Because Fulbright is not just about doing research, but about mutual exchanges and cultural exchanges and meeting new people. So could you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, something that I really love about the Fulbright program, and it's also, I guess, also sort of part of my project as well, is that really any opportunity to sort of see like cultural happenings, I just am able to jump on it at like and see it and have it be sort of my expressed purpose for being there, which makes it just a really rewarding time, like especially because throat singing in Tuva is very much connected to every sort of aspect of life, and so being in Tuva with a grant that is promoting my like cultural exchange with people is really just exactly how I should be doing this project, and it's really great that I feel so much support from the Fulbright grant to pursue that.
Do you think you will continue working on this project after your grant and after working on this paper that you mentioned in your future career? Do you see yourself somehow connected to this?
Yeah, it's the more time I spend in Tuva, the more I feel that I can never really drop this stuff, and I really need to stay involved one way or another. My undergraduate education was actually in math and not in music, and I've sort of been straddling these two worlds, and you know, as I spend more time in Tuva and do more ethnomusicology work, it's really sort of influencing my mindset on how I will go about the future, because I really do think that there's a lot of really interesting work to be done still, and I really hope that I can be taking part in that.
Have you tried throat singing yourself?
Yeah, I have tried. I haven't tried too much this trip and on the Fulbright, but about 2 years ago when I went, I tried learning a little bit, and it's really hard, and I've like lost my voice a lot trying to do it and doing it incorrectly, and but going forward, once I return from Moscow to Tuva, part of my research will be sort of putting myself in lessons with throat singers to see how they teach, because I think that's a very important way of understanding, how this tradition gets passed on, and if I can be the guinea pig to do that, I will be pretty happy, because hopefully by the end I'll actually be able to sing some. But it's currently I wouldn't call myself a singer.
It is actually possible for just any person to learn this sort of singing, so you don't have to have like a natural kind of predisposition to this, or?
Yeah, I think some people might say otherwise, but there's a lot of foreign interest in throat singing. I mean, myself included. But just in August of last year, there was a throat singing festival in Kizil, and I can't remember how many different countries were represented at this festival, but there were many, like from the US to Japan, all throughout Europe, and there are some really amazing throat singers from these areas. I mean, I know one guy, Robert McLaughlin from New Jersey, is like, because I went to school in New Jersey, I got to know him a little bit, and he's like one of the best throat singers. Like I feel like he's pretty famous in Tuvan now as well, just because he's really taken up this technique and is really living it, which is really cool.
And maybe, do you have any advice for people from the US and both from Russia who want to apply for the Fulbright program, but maybe they are not sure if they can do it, especially if they're in one field but they're interested in another field? Like, what happened to you?
Sure. I think if you're passionate about something, and if you're passionate about something, I would definitely recommend applying. I definitely had those worries before I applied of like, well, are they going to see my undergraduate degree, see it's in math, and just throw my application out the window? And obviously that didn't happen. And I'm really thankful that I've been able to have this experience of studying something that I've been interested in a long time, but haven't really had an avenue to really pursue. And I think Tuva is a very far away place, but it's still manageable to get there, and really, like, the sky's the limit for what, like, the Fulbright can help you accomplish, which is really, really amazing, and I'm very thankful.